Mm-hmm. These pages down here.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is okay to have your sound on mute if you want to. And then obviously, if you have a question, please feel free to unmute that and pipe in and ask that question. I'm also going to open up a chat here. So you can type questions in here. So if you guys can see that on the side of your screen, hopefully. So that way you can type in questions and I can get to them as we go. But yes, thank you for coming. My name's Kevin Bruni. I'm the athletic director here at the middle school. And also I work at the high school as the assistant athletic director. And so I'm pleased to be here with you. We've had a really interesting year. The fall has gone largely better than we could have hoped, I think. And we were excited to get a season in, a little bit abbreviated for some sports. We were really glad to get it in. So we have high hopes for the winter here as we enter boys basketball and competitive cheer. And specifically today, we're here talking about boys basketball. So let's start with prayer and then we'll get going. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about basketball, talk about our kids, talk about your school. We just pray that the things that we do this year may be pleasing to you, whether we be fans in the stands, whether we be coaches, whether it's players, that we do things that are pleasing to you. And God, give us the courage and the willingness to hear when we don't and to be able to encourage each other when we do. We just thank you for the chance to be together. And we thank you for the opportunity you've given us to be healthy this year so far. By and large, and we pray that you continue to have a blessing. We also pray, God, especially for a measure of grace and patience. This is such a challenging scenario. Makes all things that are hard a little bit harder. And we just know that some of those stresses come out in different ways. And God, we just pray for grace and patience amongst each other, with other schools, with everything going on. And we just pray and hope for that. So bless us, bless our kids, bless your school, help us to do things that honor you. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you for being here today. I want to go through a couple of things. We've got 5th and 6th grade families in here, or will be watching this, and it's just important for us to see each other and to hear some of these things together. I'm so excited that COVID has brought Zoom to a norm so that we can do some of these things together. We never really had a great venue for that before. So by and large, real quick, the philosophy of what we're trying to do is develop students, develop their opportunity to grow and to learn, to have challenges in their lives, to have things to overcome, for things not to go great for them. We kind of hope for that so that we have the opportunity for them to have to be able to learn how to fight through those things. And so we just hope that athletics can be a place where we can grow and learn and develop together and have grace and patience. I know certainly I don't expect perfection out of myself. Because I know it's not possible. And my hope is that you will not expect perfection out of your kids, out of the officials, out of our coaches, because you're certainly going to be disappointed if you do. And so please allow yourself to know this is a learning experience for everyone. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do, is learn and grow and provide those opportunities. And in the whole context of it all, we hope to honor God in the way that we handle all of those challenges and difficulties. So that's a big part of our philosophy as we teach our coaches and our kids, and hopefully our parents and our community how to be his hands and feet in the basketball gym this year. A couple of things that are different for 5th and 6th graders. It's different than recreational athletics. It's really important that we know that we don't have equal everything all the time. Rec sports was kind of K-4. That's an equal everything all the time kind of situation. As we head into educational athletics that we're in now in 5th and 6th grade, on our way to varsity athletics in 12th grade, it's important to note that it's not going to always be equal all the time. And that means, like, with playing time, that means with a lot of different things, but it starts to be that picture of life where not everything is the same, not everything is equal. And so one of the things I want to do is share with you my screen so we can look at the playing time philosophy, so you can kind of understand where we're coming from with this. And so you should see this on your screen now, but it's just a basic overview that, the overview is that in 5th through 7th grade, we're really trying to help them with competitive athletics, but also we don't want to give kids things they don't earn, right? And so we do this in pretty much every other place, but athletics has been this place where everything should be equal, and parents and get bent out of shape when everything isn't equal. But when it comes to the musical or the play, if I, Kevin Bruni, decided I would like to become the lead in the play, in the musical, and I went to try out, and the director said, "Have you ever sung before, Kevin?" I said, no, I haven't, but I want to. And they said, "Well, have you ever acted?" "No, Kevin, I haven't acted before, but I want to." I'm pretty sure that the musical director would say, "Yeah, we got a great spot for you, Kevin. It's on the lights committee," or, as one of these background people. They wouldn't give me the front and center role just because I wanted it. And we do that in sports and band and orchestra and all this stuff all the time. But in sports, we haven't really done that. Sports, we've expected equality in playing time and that. And it's really just kind of teaching kids a little bit about, you get what you want because you sign up instead of earning it. So with that in mind, our overview is that in 5th through 7th grade, we split teams equally amongst the two teams, but the playing time is not necessarily going to be equal. So in BB basics here, the league only requires us to give every child 6 minutes of playing time. If your child is on a bigger team, like 5th grade will have 12 people on a team, that's pretty much the max that we allow. It's going to be hard everybody will get 6 minutes, and there will be some games where your child only gets 6 minutes because of the nature of that game. And so, we follow those requirements. We want everybody to get those. But I also want to highlight for you that the way that this plays out at GRCMS is that if kids are showing up, doing their best, and having a great attitude at practices and games, it's our goal to beat those minimums each game if we can. And that's not always possible. So please don't take that as a guarantee, especially when there's 12 kids out there. And but we do definitely we will always meet that. And we will always attempt to exceed that for your child if they're doing their best, showing up to practices, and having a great attitude in everything that they do. And so we want to give them those experiences. This does not mean that everyone will play equally, okay? And it could mean that your child only plays 6 minutes, okay? It could just be that way, the way a game works out, or whatever. Maybe the whistle didn't blow, and so somebody stayed in longer than they wanted, and your child didn't get in as early as the coach had hoped because there wasn't a whistle to get them in or something. But things happen. We just have to be flexible and understand that. As far as like the sequence in 8th grade, it's much less equal than it is in 5th grade. So if you have a 5th grade child playing basketball this year, you should expect that some kids will play more than others, but it will be more equal than it would be if you went to go watch an 8th grade game where 5 or 6 or 7 players might get the majority of the playing time, and some of the other kids would get less, obviously adhering to the rules, but that would be a pretty more normal thing in the older grades. And it still will be a little bit unequal in 5th grade as well. For example, last year we had a player on one of our teams who was a fantastic player, and everybody on that team, all 11 other kids, wanted to be on the floor with that kid all the time, right? Because that kid made everybody better. And so naturally, that child played more minutes because we wanted to give all of the players a chance to play with that person because they made so many things happen for everyone else. And so obviously that child's going to play more, and they should, because they're in that position. And so, I just want you guys to understand that as we get into it, that you shouldn't expect equal playing time, and that coach's job is to make sure that all the kids get an opportunity to play with the best players, and all of the kids that are working hard, having a good attitude and doing their best get a chance to show what they're learning and have some of those experiences in the game situation to show what they're learning in practice. So the coach's expectation is here. I will send you this sheet if you want to go through it and look through it a little bit more and ask questions of me. That would be totally fine. So I'll send that to you. Does anybody have a question about playing time at this point as we're in our meeting here? Does anybody have a question they want to bring up now? You can unmute and ask that, or you can type it in the chat. No? Okay. So we'll keep moving then. The other thing that's a little different about, educational athletics is, we kind of trust the kids to some coaches now. Typically in recreational sports, we're the coaches. We kind of have control over what's going on. Our ideas are the ideas that happen, and the parents kind of group together and run those rec sports. And as we enter educational athletics, I interview, hire, train, evaluate all of the coaches that your children interface with. And so, in a way, it can be a little bit funny where you've always been kind of the leader or the person in charge of the team to now have to pass that off to someone else. And one of the big places I see this as a rub in basketball is the parent coach in the stands. Okay, maybe you've heard of this person before. I'm sure it's not any of you, but the person who is always yelling to their child about what to do as a parent from the stands. This is a really hard thing for your kids. I just need you to know that. Okay, the reason it's so hard is because every day they see the coach that we've hired, trained, and mentor together to work with your kids, and they're trying to listen to that person. And then the parent who's not at any of those events or doesn't know any of the things the coach is trying to tell their child is all of a sudden coaching in the way that they thought best from the stands. And that puts your child in a place where they cannot win. They can't please the coach who they see every day, and they can't please the parent who they see every day. And so what makes it really hard is when we start to step into each other's living rooms, right? If we don't want that coach to come to our dinner table as a parent and tell our child how to act at the dinner table and how to act as a student and do all those things in our own rooms, we shouldn't go into their gyms and then start coaching up the kids when that's not our place, right? So we have to stay in our own living rooms. And I'm telling you, if you can do this, you certainly can coach your child as much as you want to when they leave these gyms in the car, in your living room, whatever it may be, extra time you're working with them, please do. But when our coaches are there, please don't put your child in that challenging situation to have to figure out who to listen to and for what reason, because they will never win. They will never win. And although you're trying to help, it's well-meaning and loving and caring. I've been around this game enough as a player, a coach, and an athletic director to know we really put those kids in terrible positions when we do that. And it's just really important that I communicate with you on their behalf, the students' behalf, to stay in our own places when it comes to that. And then when they're yours in your car and at your house, please coach them up. When they're in the gyms, let the coaches coach them up and flip into that support encouragement role. Whether you agree with the coaches' strategies and play calls or not, encourage those kids to do the best at what that coach is telling them. And that's how the kids are going to have the best experience. As far as a couple of reminders, it is so important for our kids to know that we are, as parents, that we are supporting them, not telling them what to do. And we kind of touched on that already, but it's just such an important thing. And I see it go wrong so many times. So just please remember that. Our processes for making teams as well is inherently not perfect, right? We can't expect perfection. We're watching kids for 3 days when we do team formation. And our goal is for the kids to play as hard as they can in those team formation days so that the coaches have a chance to assess them and make 2 equal teams. I know that it's not going to be a perfect equal split for everyone. And, that's kind of the way it goes. The other thing is sometimes, in 3 days, you don't know everybody's personalities. And there might be a situation where all these personalities fit together really well and that team really takes off because they seem to fit together really well. And the other team, maybe they have just as much talent, but because maybe they didn't quite listen the right way or their personalities clash a little bit, it doesn't take off as much. We certainly are doing our best to make equal teams, and we just ask that you give us a little grace as we do that. And we know that our system isn't perfect, but we do take 3 days to try to analyze the kids and figure out the best way to make even teams for our year, so that the kids have those opportunities. So as we look at the schedule, um, planning for those first 3 days, I believe the sixth graders, if you're a sixth grade parent, they're Monday at 6:30 p.m. till 8 p.m. And the fifth graders' first day is Tuesday at 5 p.m. You should have received an email from uh, your coach already. I think I've seen all of them go through. So you should have seen an initial email from your coach already with that information for the first week. And so if you have questions about that schedule, you can ask me tonight. Otherwise, you can ask your coach later on. They're your best source for that information. Parent attendance, just like the school day for practices, parents aren't allowed to come into the school. I think you've kind of noticed that so far this year. And it's kind of the same thing for sports. They're just trying to reduce, the school is trying to reduce the amount of different people who enter our building and touch stuff and breathe on things and spit. So, if we can stay in our cars a little bit more, drop your child off. We'll send the kids out to you afterwards. Our coach will always stay until you arrive to pick up your child. So just stay in your car. We'll send the kids in and out. And that's going to be challenging because you won't get to see your child as much. And, maybe only you get to see them in a couple of games. But it's just kind of the situation we're in this year with COVID. So, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at with the parent attendance at practices. As far as masks go, we ask that we're going to get into COVID stuff a little bit later, but we ask that you make sure that your child always has a mask for basketball. We'll go over the regulations in a little bit, but we do need to have masks, and so we'll cover that later on. Health checks, just like for school, you're doing a health check every morning. And that's a really important thing to do. Our parents have been conservative with that, which I think is great. That's kept everybody a lot healthier and safer. And so please continue to be conservative with that. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. But another thing you're going to have to do, and I want to show you this on my phone. It's going to be a little funny to try to show you this over Zoom, but I want you to have an understanding of what it looks like. So we have this app called TeamSnap, which eventually you'll get loaded onto by your coach. And so you can see right there that this is like the boys' 7th and 8th grade soccer team. And so whichever team your child is on, you will automatically get loaded into that by your coach. And so what this does for you is it gives you the schedule and some other things here at the bottom. So if I click schedule, you'll see the schedule that was loaded in for soccer, which is irrelevant to you today. The reason I'm showing you this is at the bottom here. If you click on a game, so if we click on this game versus Ada Christian, you'll see that there's a health check incomplete. You see that? That means that for your child, you have not done a health check. The league is requiring us during basketball season that whenever we have a game or a scrimmage through league participation, you have to do this health check prior to your child arriving at the game, and you have to show it to your coach. Okay, so each day that you arrive at the gym, your child has to have this done. The coach will be able to see a list of all of the kids who have completed it. So if you forget, the coach can go to this icon down here that says team health check, and they can click and see every kid. So if 10 of the 12 kids have done it and 2 haven't, what the coach will do is they will click this and they will go through the health check with your child to make sure that they're eligible to play. It's really helpful for our coach if he never has to do that health check. He's got enough things he's worried about pregame. If you can just remember to do that health check from your thing, that would be great. So yeah, that's one of the things that we have to do. It's a hoop we have to jump through, but we have to do that for the league. I know you're doing it for school already, so it's going to feel like double on 8 nights of the season, but we appreciate you doing that just to help us out with the league. Any questions about health checks through this app? You'll get this app if you don't have it already. It's TeamSnap, and it's free. So you'll get that. I'm looking at some of the things in the chat here. How long are games? Games are 6-minute quarters, Kevin. And so all of the kids are guaranteed to play at least one quarter. And as they get older in 7th and 8th grade, the requirement for playing time is the same, meaning it's one quarter, but the quarters become 8 minutes long. So there's a lot more minutes available in those older games. And so it's a little easier for all the kids to get their playing time. Sorry, I'm trying to plug in my computer here so it doesn't run out of batteries. Okay, we're good. Other things in the chat, email from 5th grade coach says Tuesday 3:15, not 6:30. Let me double check that and make sure. I don't want anybody to leave here confused, so I will check it. Can you see what I'm looking at right here with the schedule? No? Okay. 5th grade, you're right. 5th grade is 3:15 on Tuesday the 27th. Okay, and Wednesday, 5th grade is at 6:30. And Thursday, 5th grade is at 3:15. So Braidaweggs, you have it correct. The coach has it correct. Mr. Bruni had it wrong, which is, not uncommon. I make plenty of mistakes. So thanks for helping me figure that out. First 5th grade evaluation next week is from 3:15. How long will it run? So 3:15 to 5 is the first slot. Then 5 to 6:30 is the second practice slot, and 6:30 to 8 is our third practice slot. Currently, we're going to get to this later, but we're not allowed to switch gyms at this point. Mr. DeYoung is not allowing us to have our kids go to other campuses to play in other gyms, which it's hard to figure out where to start and stop all these decisions, and I know they're dealing with a lot, and so we're hopefully going to be able to get some of our 5th grade teams over to Evergreen so that we don't have to practice late so often. But right now, since all of our teams are in one gym, we've got kids going from 3:15 to 8:15 every single night of the week. And so sometimes you'll be late like that. Sometimes you'll be early, but certainly our practice schedule is a little different than it's been. If you're a 5th grader, you won't know any different, so you'll be happy, right? So it's okay. The next one, Dan's iPhone. Who is the other coach? Yes, so the other coach is Nick Swagman, and Nick is, he's a Kelvin student, and he'll be at all of those. And for some reason, his bio got left out of that email. It's not anyone's fault, but just he'll be there, and we have 2 coaches, and so they'll be there to coach the kids. So each team will have 12 kids.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other Evergreen parents here, but my son's a 5th grader at Evergreen. I'm assuming these practices are all at the middle school, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to get him from Evergreen to the middle school, or do we need to come pick him up?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about transportation again. When we get to these things, just remind me we already talked about it. But the school is not allowed to do any form of shuttling due to COVID regulations this year. So typically our 5th graders always practice at Evergreen. So because there is, in a normal year, there's a bus that goes from here to Evergreen, right? So then we do all the 5th grade stuff at Evergreen, so those Evergreen kids don't have to move. It's just easier for everyone. But unfortunately, the way that things go this year, that's going to be more of a challenge to do that. So again, it'd be great if you guys at Evergreen could find a group that could, carpool together to get them over here and share turns. But one of my big things I'm going to be asking Mr. DeYoung about is, since I already have kids at Evergreen on the team, can we actually use that Evergreen gym like we always have? And I'm hoping he'll allow us to do that. But again, I know there's so many decisions they have to make. I'm not sure. So as of now, we're going to plan to do it the way we are. And hopefully we'll be able to change that sooner than later. But until then, we just have to do it that way. Sorry about that, Kevin. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So let's keep going here. In 5th and 6th grade, you can plan to participate 3 days a week. The league allows us 4.5 hours of practice per week. So to me, that's 3 practices a week. And so if we have a game, that would be a fourth night, right? And so typically what we try to do is if we have one game in a week for 5th and 6th grade, then we're going to have 2 practices. If we have 2 games in a week, then we're probably going to have 1. But if we get stuck in a situation where we're only having 1 practice each week with 2 games each week, it's really hard for us to improve, which is what 5th and 6th grade basketball is all about, right? It's hard to improve when your kid only plays 6 minutes. We'd rather they play in a practice for an hour and a half, right, than play 6 minutes in one game. So on weeks that we have 2 games like that, I try to get us a second practice in there. And I know it's a 4th day, but it is within the rules, and it does seem to at least equalize the learning opportunities and the game opportunities, if that makes sense. So I don't want to be in a spot where we're playing twice. Kids are showing up for these games, and because of numbers in 5th or 6th grade, we got 12 kids or something. They just don't get as much time to improve. And that, to me, for what we do in middle school, is not helpful. So if we have a double game week, I'm going to try to get you that second practice that week, just so that the kids have more opportunities to touch the basketball and improve at the game. And I hope you understand that. I hope it's not, you don't think I'm doing this like, hey, we got to win at all costs. I care about the improvement, and I don't care if we win. It's great to win, but I want to make sure the kids have an opportunity to grow and to learn. So that's why we might end up having a 4th day in a week. And I hope that makes sense to you. If you have conversation about that you'd like to have with me, please give me a call or send me an email and we'll talk about it. But again, my goal for that is not that we win at all costs. My goal for that is that kids get way more opportunities to improve when they have those 2 practices in a week at least, versus 2 games in a week. So hopefully that makes sense. Game schedules are not out yet. When they are out, we will load you onto TeamSnap, and then we will also load all of our practices onto TeamSnap. And the beauty of that is you get an alert and a reminder every single time your child has an event. So I know middle school parents are all over the place. They're also in the middle of high school kids and elementary kids and all the other stuff they're doing. So getting those little alerts and reminders about when stuff's happening is a really nice thing. And so we'll get you loaded into TeamSnap so that you can see your schedule. I was showing you kind of that little bar at the bottom had schedule. We'll get you in there, and the game schedules are not out yet, but I can tell you we will have some kind of event for your child on the 7th of November. That's Saturday. That's the first scrimmage / game opportunity that the kids will have. And I believe that's happening for 5th and 6th grade this year. I know it happens for 7th and 8th, but with COVID, I don't know if they're going to do it for 5, 6. We'll have to see. But you can pencil in the 7th as that first kind of scrimmage competitive game opportunity. Does that make sense? So pencil that in. And again, as soon as we get the full schedule, we'll load you onto TeamSnap. Spectators, as we're talking about games and game schedules, we got to talk about spectators. Most of the gyms for basketball will be 2 spectators per athlete. Okay. And that's mostly because the gyms are small and the capacities are not high. If you've been paying attention to high school, our inside gym can have 500 people. That's because the capacity is almost 2,500 and you can have about 20%. So our gym here is not a 2,500 student capacity. So it's certainly a lot less. So the regulation that we have from the state is that we can have 2 per athlete in our gym. Some of the gyms may only allow 1 per athlete. If you had a child that was in volleyball, a girl, you might have known that some weeks here we were 1 spectator, some weeks we were 2. For basketball, you can expect 2 spectators per athlete. So you can come in that way. Any questions about schedules or spectators or anything like that? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll keep going. Let's talk a little bit about our coaches. We kind of touched on that before. It'll be a little more challenging this year with coaches. Again, some of you are handing kids off to coaches for the first time. Some of you did it last year and you didn't really like doing that, but it is kind of the way that it's working. And that's kind of how it goes in educational athletics. And so this year will be a little tougher because there's going to be less opportunities for you to see your child. And, so what I need you to understand about working with coaches is it went really good this fall. Okay. We had less communication between parents and coaches, like in person and all that, than we've ever had before. And the parents did a phenomenal job with it. The coaches did a great job communicating. So I've been training my winter coaches about this, the importance of clearly and often communicating to parents since we're not able to interface with you guys as much. Team Snap gives us a lot of opportunities to communicate as well through the chat functions. But the parents just did a wonderful job communicating with the coaches, the school, and me about illness. That was amazing. They did a wonderful job treating officials and opposing teams respectfully. I mean, it's almost like youth sports got a reset. And what I mean by that is, like, it used to feel like everybody that came to a game was crazy and like trying to get scholarships for their kids and expected refs to be perfect and it was like, hey, we're just grateful to be here. And I'm telling you, that is the attitude that we should always have, right? And for this fall season, people took that attitude, treated officials well, treated coaches well. I mean, I can't tell you how enjoyable that was for everybody, including the officials, to have people, with that measure of grace and patience, and just be grateful to participate. And it was just awesome. And so, as we head into basketball season, it's important that we continue to keep that going. We stood out. I can tell you from the officials and the league perspective, we as Grand Rapids Christians stood out as a school that didn't complain, followed the rules, had masks on, were respectful of people's situations at the ticket gates. Like we just really we really put God on display this fall as a Grand Rapids Christian community. And I just want to plead with you to continue that in a time where it's challenging to do so. Please continue to do that and do that for the benefit of our school and our kids and all those watching us. Just want to encourage you with that. But one thing I want to ask is some trust for your coach. Some of you guys are going to have coaches that are in their first year. Some of you guys are going to have coaches that are in their 35th year, depending on where your child is playing. And everywhere in between. And our job at the middle school is to teach coaches, people who love their sport and love working with kids, how to engage that passion. And that's not going to be perfect. There's going to be challenges there. Work with the coaches, ask them questions. One thing that gets people really worked up is when you make statements about things and you're not there all the time, right? So ask questions. I also want to say that it's possible that your child comes home with a different story for you than what is reality. Okay. I know that's hard to believe, but my 3-year-olds that are twins, they already do this to me. Right. And I get mad at one. They're already playing one against the other and they're 3. So I'm just saying, remember, especially when you can't see with your own eyes, that it's possible your child comes home with a story that is suited to their need rather than reality. So as you hear those things, I've always heard parents say things like, my child doesn't lie. My child never makes these mistakes. My child would never do this. And those are really tough things to say. I'd encourage you to ask questions of the coaches, not make statements, but just ask questions, because we all want a great experience for the kids. And unfortunately, sometimes great experience it gets defined in the wrong way. A lot of times we say great experiences, they had fun, they got what they wanted, when they wanted it, how they wanted it. And that meant it was a great day and a great experience. And unfortunately, that is a great day, but it is not necessarily a great experience. And you and I both know, we all know, that some of the greatest experiences we have involved struggle, challenge, difficulty. And then when we fight through and battle those things to get out on the other side, that's when it becomes this great thing. And so our goal is to provide a great experience for your kid. And that doesn't mean it's all going to go right. They're all going to play as much as they want. They're all going to get the plays called that they want, that the coach is going to do everything perfect according to the kid or the parent. That's not a great experience. A great experience is when we get those opportunities to learn and grow through adversity and challenge. And so hopefully we can redefine that and remember that some of those challenges and difficulty are good. And we want our kids to learn how to deal with that in something as insignificant as 5th and 6th grade basketball. I know it's a big deal to the kids, but you and I all know it's a very insignificant part of real life. And if we can learn some of these lessons during basketball, what an awesome way to do it. right? What an awesome way to learn some of those experiences and those challenges. So sports can have a major impact on kids' lives. Let's hope that we can give them great experiences to deal with that. We are really lucky to play, so please work well with your coach, encourage your child, and make sure that we have a lot of patience for what's going on. If you have a problem, okay, there's guaranteed that you at some point you might have a problem, right? Because you're not in the same room as the coach all the time and you see something different. I would encourage you to have a two-chair conversation, meaning you and the coach. That doesn't mean that we have a conversation where I'm going to tell four other people and put four chairs around the circle, tell them about what I think about coach is bad, and then go have a two-chair conversation with coach, because that's really a five-chair conversation, right? If you have something, go ask the coach a question one-on-one. Okay, that's the most important way. It's biblical, and it's the way we have to do it. As soon as we start pulling other chairs in, we're ruining opportunities for that coach to be effective, because you, in your view, would then be coloring the view of other people in such a way that, you know, is sometimes irreparable. And so please continue to do two-chair conversations. And if someone else tries to pull you into a multiple chair conversation, you can do the same thing that I do, which is ask them, hey, what did coach say when you asked him that? And it's just a gentle way to remind them, go to coach. You know, don't go to us. I hear what you're saying, but what did coach say when you asked him about that? So that'd be my encouragement. When it comes to something that's not going right, is just go to coach, talk to coach first, and you know, make sure that you're having that two-chair conversation and give that coach benefit of the doubt. These coaches are hired because they love to work with kids, because they love the Lord, and because they want to teach your child about the game. It is their number one goal. None of our coaches come into this thing hoping to make your child feel bad. None of them come into this hoping to sit your child on the bench. None of our kids come into this hoping to call bad plays and teach the wrong basketball lessons. That's certainly not their goal. And so please give them the benefit of the doubt and ask them a lot of questions, but please give them benefit of the doubt. Any questions? I don't see anything new on the chat. As far as Cliff Notes are concerned, I want to share with you the basketball COVID Cliff Notes that I put together. Can you guys see this? Am I still sharing it or not? Let me see. Let me get this here for you. Can you see these Cliff Notes?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what I'm telling coaches to do each day. And then down here is what we're asking parents to kind of pay attention to. So we'll go over the parent part. All coaches and all kids have to wear masks at all times. It's similar to the volleyball regulation. I know it's a cardio-oriented sport, but they have to wear masks at all times, at least for now. And we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, COVID cases are on the rise, and we need to be, you know, paying close attention to that. But our job, most importantly, is to make sure that we're keeping those masks on our kids and encouraging them to do so. When it comes to other games, like if you see a team that is not wearing their mask as much, this is a really weird thing, but the officials can't penalize them, according to the MHSAA. The fans can't do anything to make another team put their mask on, right? We can talk to our own kids to put our masks on. Our coaches can talk to our own kids to put masks on. But what we as Graham's Christian want to make sure that we're making sure our kids and coaches are doing the right things. That's the most important thing. What I can do that the league allows us is, if we see another team not doing a good job with this, I can report that to their AD and to the league. And the league and the athletic director of that school will then have to confront the coach, and they can impose whatever penalties they think are important to impose on those schools. But as far as like in the moment of the game, there's nothing we can do about masks, which is kind of a weird thing. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying it's the way it is. And so please make sure that we're, you know, talking to our team. And if you see something like that that seems persistent, send me an email and I can address that with the other athletic director and the league director to make sure that people are doing a better job. But that's the best way to do it. Just stick to focusing on our team. So masks are important. Also, you see over here, daily screening. You're doing that for school, so stick with that. Also, we talked about the team snap thing. You'll need to make sure you do that on game days. Drop off and pick up. We talked about that. Stay in your car. as best you can. We just try to keep as few people in the building as possible. Attending games, it'll be 2 per coach. 2 per athlete. There is a fee for that, and the reason is the league that schools that host have to pay for the table staff and all those sorts of things, and so there's a fee so that schools that are willing to host during this time can actually not come out in the red. They can come out in the black when they do that, so that they can pay all those people. Water, hand sanitizer. Please make sure your child has their own towel, practice jersey, all that stuff. We can't share any of those things this year. We can't share water bottles. The drinking fountains aren't on. So make sure they come with a loaded water bottle, and any hand sanitizer, anything you want to give them would be great. We will have, I think I'm trying to find enough jerseys where every kid can have a practice jersey. So if you can send that with your child, it's easier for coaches to do like team things when there's, practice jerseys. If you don't have a practice jersey, it's great to be able to send your child with a light shirt and a dark shirt. So we don't have to share. We can't do pennies this year. Usually we've done like little red pennies, that you wear. But since we can't wash those every day, we can't use them. And so if you can send them with a dark and a light shirt, that's really helpful. And then obviously with carpooling, it's a recommendation that if you're carpooling people like the Evergreen families carpooling over here for practice, it's always best to wear masks in there. It's certainly not a requirement. I'm not going to stand at the curb and see if you're doing it. It's just something that they're recommending. As far as like the stuff coaches are paying attention to, we are disinfecting all the basketballs after every practice. Once the kids are in practice, we're not going to disinfect throughout because it's the same kids in there running against each other and all that. But once it's done, we want to disinfect so that the next group who uses those things is safe from any germs. So we will be doing that. The kids won't get locker rooms. They have to make sure mask. If you have a COVID positive, let me be your partner on this. Please communicate with me so that I can help you with the toolkit, so we can make sure that we're working with Kent County to make sure that people are safe. And we haven't had to quarantine any teams so far in 5 to 12, which is awesome because parents have done such a good job communicating with us as administrators, building administrators and athletic administrators. So please continue to do that. One of the things I always say is it used to kind of be tough to like fight through some sickness or fight through not feeling well and go to practice. Like the Michael Jordan was sick and throwing up and he played in NBA finals and scored like 40 some points. And he was looked at as a hero because of that. Certainly during this time, that's not heroic, right? That's just a chance to give more people COVID. So if there's any question that your child isn't feeling right, they're not going to be penalized. Just communicate with the coach, keep them home, keep everybody safe. And then if something does come up, like someone in your family gets a COVID positive, please let me know. That is, we would not be sharing names or anything like that, but we certainly want to make sure we're doing what's right on a health standpoint to keep our community safe and healthy. So those are the things that are big for basketball with COVID regulations. Does anybody have a question about COVID regulations or anything that we've covered so far? Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Like I said, next week, 6th grade starts Monday, 5th grade starts Tuesday. By the end of that week, you'll get an email from your individual coach, and that individual coach will be your point of contact going forward. They're also your first line of questions. Please email them first with any questions you have about schedule or any of those things, because it's really hard for me to field all those questions for the 60 teams we'll have going this winter between high school and middle school for sports. So please talk with your coach first. And obviously, if we're not getting anywhere or coach isn't answering you or something like that, please then contact me and I can help you out. So if there's nothing else, let me see here. I work for the health department and I'm contact tracing team, so I can help with questions with COVID. That's awesome. Yeah, it's certainly a really important thing. And so I will definitely be writing your name down so that you'd be an inside person that I could talk to about that. So I'll be writing your name down. Any other questions or concerns or things that you wonder about as we enter our season? Okay. Well, I appreciate your attendance and look forward to seeing your kids next week. If you think of anything before the teams are made, just send me an email and I'd be happy to help that. Once teams are made, like I said, go try to check in with your coach on those things first and foremost. And in the meantime, be safe, be healthy, and we'll try to make this season happen. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin. Nice job.
Thanks. See ya.